Here's my power! Narratus! I wish there was another way.
The new year is finally upon us, and I'm hearing an awful lot about dry January and not nearly enough about JRPG-January, so I'm here to set you on the right path. Path of the Midnight Sun, that is. A JRPG from Studio Daemon. They've cited Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei as inspiration for this rather substantial indie RPG, clocking in at over 30 hours. Unsurprisingly, there is a lot to discuss here, so grab yourself a snack, get comfy, and let's talk story. One of the first things you're going to notice about Path of the Midnight Sun is that it is incredibly well written. It's not uncommon in the indie space to come across games that are too wordy, have unfocused stories, or are clear on their concepts but riddled with typos. That is not the case for Path of the Midnight Sun. The plot does not entirely break from the current conventions of the genre, but it does beckon you forward, enticing you with little breadcrumbs of intrigue in a plot that is packed to the brim with mystery and suspense. You'll also find a lot of reasons to keep a close eye on your companions in Path of the Midnight Sun. A knight with amnesia and torturous visions, perhaps of things that have already happened, or maybe things that have not yet come to pass. A princess vassal tasked with the gargantuan responsibility of containing the Demon King without falling victim to his wiles. Not to mention her mysterious half-brother. They have the same eyes. Everyone's gonna comment on it. It's a whole thing. Then there's the blind priestess, and she can sense malice in others. And then there is Kristoff. He has muscles, and not much else. After playing, I found out that the director of this title is a psychologist, which actually makes total sense. You'll deal with all sorts of moral dilemmas and have to get a read on your fellow adventurers to interact with them successfully. It definitely enhances the immersion factor and makes for a more interactive and more fulfilling experience. Another little interesting tidbit is that this game was born out of a popular Fire Emblem ROM hack from 2014. From what I can tell, this game has come a long way since those origin days, and the gameplay is much different, but it's nice to remember where you came from. Some kickstarting and much development later, you'll be kicking off your journey by selecting from a wide range of difficulty options, which should suit the needs of most players. There is a story mode for those more interested in the character dynamics and less interested in mana and melee, as well as a hardcore mode for the most dedicated JRPG fans. I personally split the difference with the normal option and had a Goldilocks moment because it felt just right. Path of the Midnight Sun is a JRPG, yes, but it's also a lot more than that. The game is split into chapters, and those chapters are often divided between different characters' perspectives. Story portions of the game are not unlike a visual novel in experience, where you'll have branching conversations with which your choices matter in both the story and in your character's statistics. These scenes also often come with a bit of a point-and-click style exploration area, where you can hover your cursor over the beautifully illustrated environments to inspect various elements and perhaps gather some loot if you're careful to watch out for paw prints. Of course, you will get the turn-based combat you've come to expect from the genre. These segments of the game typically have you transported to a mini-map that resembles a game board, with chibi character models serving as your game pieces. There's a fair bit of strategy to these game segments, as you'll not only need to manage the stats of your characters in play, but you'll also have to watch the time. Choosing not to move spaces between battles can net you some recovery, or you can do some exploration in that area to perhaps gain some items, but it may give your enemies an advantage. At the same time, leading the charge into enemy spaces can have its advantages as well, such as a lower reaction speed for your opponents or a 10% reduction in enemy HP at the the start. Even in the story segments, moving from room to room will also move the hands on the clock. You'll often have a goal to complete or a place to meet by a certain time of day, but don't worry your pretty little head too much about watching the clock, because the game isn't anywhere close to real time. In fact, the clock doesn't move at all once you're in a room and exploring, so you won't have to worry about wasting time on deciding what weaponry to purchase or which foods to consume. I wish this applied to real life as well, because unfortunately I am cursed with indecision. This more or less leads me to my next point. There are plenty of systems to learn in Path of the Midnight Sun, but they are all fed to you in a nice and easily digestible manner. I didn't even fill out all of the question marks in my menus until at least chapter 5, so the game gives you time to learn before moving on to the next thing. Speaking of digestible, you'll have to watch the hunger meter for each of your characters to make sure they are fit to fight and not losing sanity. Again, much like myself. You'll be able to cook, craft, assign skill points, and so much more as you make your way through this adventure. The menus are, for the most part, clean and concise, though the location of the cancel option when you're shopping for goods or equipping items is a little clumsy at times, especially when it appears at the very top right-hand corner of the screen. I did get used to it being there eventually, but I had to retrain my brain to stop looking down for it. Another thing that bothered me just a twinge, even if it is overall a minor complaint in the grand scheme of things, was the cursor remaining on screen even during the cinematic combat scenes. It probably wouldn't have bothered me as much if it wasn't so darn big and gold. It just kind of obstructed my view in an unpleasant way. Apart from these minor complaints, however, the art is absolutely gorgeous. The game opts for 2D portrait art with some nice fluid animations thrown in, so nothing ever feels stale or stiff. The backgrounds are nicely detailed as well, they're colorful, and nothing is too small or too insignificant of a detail. The chibi art for the combat segments is also very endearing and never failed to at least make me smile, even during the super stressful battle sequences. Perhaps my most important point about the art and gameplay in general: dog. You get a dog. Well, technically it's a small wolf, but it's still cute and it helps you find gold and you can pet it. This is a key selling point for me, so I feel it is my duty to share it with you. The sun is a star, and the star of this show, to me, was the sound design. The soundtrack is richly orchestrated and lively, the tunes are catchier than the common cold, and I almost immediately found myself humming along to each and every track.
I can't stop now!
My turn, huh?
Of course, the voice acting is top-notch. I personally loved the narrator and looked forward to the little scenes between chapters, if only so I could hear his very soothing tone. It's rare to find this level of professional voice acting in an indie RPG, hell, even in a non-indie RPG, so I was very pleasantly surprised with how much personality they were able to pack into these very two-dimensional portraits. Path of the Midnight Sun is an absolute joy to experience. It's as challenging as you want it to be, it's well written and well acted, the art is vibrant and expressive, the music is gorgeous, there's very little not to like about this title, and for that reason, and many others, I am awarding Path of the Midnight Sun my first Golden Genie Lamp of 2023. New year, same old silent signs, loving me some well-written, well-crafted stories. If you're a JRPG fan with 30 hours to spare, I'd recommend giving Path of the Midnight Sun a go, and even if you don't have 30 hours to spare, play a hooky from school or work and pick up this title. You probably won't regret it.
Here's my power! Shadow magic!
Let's see.
I can't stop now!